At our anniversary dinner, she thanked everyone but me, her parents, her sister, her best friend, even her yoga coach. Everyone who mattered, except the man who planned it all. Laughter filled the room, phones flashed, champagne sparkled, and I sat there, smiling like a ghost at my own celebration. She looked perfect under the lights. I looked like part of the furniture. That's when it hit me. Love can die quietly, right in front of a crowd. I didn't yell. I didn't make a scene. I just lifted my glass, looked her in the eye, and said 6 calm words that ended our marriage for good. No anger, no tears, just peace. The kind that comes when a man finally stops pretending he's seen. If you've ever given everything and disappeared in return, you'll feel this. Tap follow, leave your thoughts below, because this story's only getting started. I booked the private room at the seaport weeks in advance. The manager walked me through it like a pilot before takeoff. Capacity, timing, noise, the view over the water. I met the chef and swapped dishes until the menu felt like her playlist. Burrata to start, the halibut she always orders, chocolate torte to land the night. I sent him our engagement photo. He stamped it on the menus like a seal. I paid the full bill up front, room fee, corkage, extra staff, so she wouldn't see a single check. I checked the lighting in the late afternoon. Warm bulbs, not blue. Candles at eye level so no one squints. I moved place cards until her family sat where they'd feel important, and her mentor had a clean sightline to her smile. I even asked for the piano to stay soft. No showboating, just a steady hum. Every prop had a job. The photo on the menu, the glassware that caught the sunset, the napkins folded the way she likes, the chairs pulled an inch closer so people would lean in. It felt right. Organized. Loving. The manager peeked in, nodded. "We're all set, Mr. Bennett." I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Good. One more thing left. The flowers. She loves peonies, even when Boston says it's not their time. I hit Whole Foods first. Too tired, too few, wrong shade. The clerk shrugged like weather. I called 3 shops out in the suburbs, left 2 voicemails that sounded more desperate than I meant, then found a florist who hesitated before naming a price that said, "Are you sure?" I said yes. She said rush delivery. I said today. She said, "I'll try." The box arrived like contraband, cool to the touch, wrapped tight. I opened it and the scent was clean, almost shy. I trimmed the stems, slid each one into crystal vases, turned them a 1/4 inch until every bloom faced the room the way she faces a camera. I filled the water just to the lip, set them along the tables like little promises. They were perfect and a little fragile, the way beautiful things get when they're out of season. I stood there with green clippings on my hands and thought, this is what love looks like when you work at it. Time, money, care, and no audience. I stepped back. The room softened. The air changed. For a second I could see the whole night going right. Her smile, her laugh, the way her eyes go gentle when she feels seen. I told myself quietly, tonight will be perfect. And I believed it. Back home, she held up the emerald dress to the mirror, turned left, turned right. "Which angle is more IG-worthy?" she asked. Not, "How do I look to you?" I said the truth anyway. "It brings out your eyes." She smiled at the screen, not at me, and lifted her phone. One selfie, then another, then a boomerang with a wink. Tag the brand, tag the makeup, tag the hair. I stood behind her, off camera, a coat rack with a heartbeat. The room smelled like hairspray and peonies. She checked filters the way a chef checks seasoning. Too warm? Too cool? She wasn't asking me. She was asking the phone. That's when it pressed in. Online, we were flawless. Offline, I was furniture. Public image, private silence. The perfect couple, as long as I stayed just outside the frame. She tossed me a quick, "You're the best," the kind people use for baristas and doormen, not husbands. Then she posted, "Anniversary look. Let's make memories." Hearts flew up the screen. I watched them float like confetti I didn't earn. I picked up my keys and said, "We're on time." She didn't look up. "Give me 2 minutes." Another selfie, another micro pose. I waited in the doorway and felt something small and important slip, like a button you don't notice is gone until your shirt won't close. At the venue, the room was set. Water glasses laced with gold, candles ready. I laid out the seating like a small peace treaty. Her dad at her right so he'd feel honored. Her mom where the light would flatter. Jessica next to Rachel. Keep the chatter friendly, not sharp. James, the mentor, with a clean line of sight to Sam. Lisa from yoga near the window. She loves good light for photos. 2 coworkers on the end where they could slip out early without making a scene. I made sure every chair had space, every plate had ease. People behave better when they're comfortable. That's something you learn managing warehouses and families. The staff brought a small stack of inserts Sam had asked for, thin cards to slip inside the menu. Tonight, I'm grateful for a cute touch, she'd said. I slid one out and scanned the names. Mom and Dad, Jess, Rachel, James, Lisa. The book club. My creative team. Neat font, clean lines. My hands cooled. I checked another card. Same list. Another. Same. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe she'd thank me out loud. Maybe this was just a draft. The manager walked by, whispered, "Looks perfect." I nodded. I tucked the little card back into the menu like it hadn't cut me. Then I centered her place setting, smoothed the napkin, and stepped away, careful not to disturb a single thing that clearly didn't include me. The room filled the way a tide comes in, slow at first, then everywhere. Piano in the corner, soft and steady, candlelight warming the faces I'd arranged like a map, coats on chairs, hugs, "You look great," the quick thud of friendly hands on backs. Phones came up. Angles were tested. Someone said, hold it, okay now." I smiled for people who don't know me. I poured wine and said, "Red? White?" Like it mattered. A coworker of Sam's told me the view was unreal. Her mother said the flowers were perfect, as if they'd just appeared. Rachel squeezed my arm and held my eyes a half-second longer than casual. Then the noise rolled back over us. Laughter, plates, forks, the easy music of a good night. Screens lit the tables. Stories bloomed. I saw the caption float by on someone's phone. "Best night ever." Tags. At restaurant, at dress, at makeup artist, at mentor. I didn't see at husband. I didn't expect to. The piano got brighter, the clink of glass on marble got sharper, and somewhere under it all was the quiet place I live when I'm doing everything right. Noise outside, silence inside. It hit me that I'd built this whole room to make sure everyone else had a memory. I stood in the only spot with no camera pointed at it and held my breath. Across the table, Sam lifted her glass and looked for a spoon to tap. She tapped the glass and the piano faded like a light dimming. Chairs stopped creaking. Phones tilted up, already recording. Sam smiled the way she smiles when the world is watching, chin high, eyes glossy, shoulders relaxed like a pro. "Thank you all for coming," she said. "This feels special." A few soft laughs. She took a breath. "I want to say thank you." It came as a rhythm. "Mom and Dad, for believing in me." Applause. "Jess, for telling me the truth even when I don't want it." Laughter. "Rachel, 13 years of friendship. You know me better than anyone." Heads nodding. "Lisa, for keeping me centered." "James, for helping me see creatively." "My book club, for the conversations that feed my soul." Names, beats, little bursts of claps, the cadence of a list you've rehearsed. My mouth went dry without moving. I stared at the gold rim of my glass and waited for a syllable that sounded like me. She looked across the room like a director checking marks and lifted her chin a touch higher. "I'm grateful for everyone who matters in my life," she said, voice warm and full. "To the people who see me, support me, make my life meaningful." The words slid across the table and settled in my lap like ice. "To everyone who matters," she finished, smile bright. Glasses rose. I kept mine on the table and counted the beats it took for my name not to arrive. But silence has a sound when it's personal. You don't hear it in your ears, you feel it in your ribs. That's when I knew the real toast hadn't happened yet. "Mom and Dad," she says first. Faces soften, hands lift glasses. "Jess," she says next. Her sister laughs through a tear. Rachel, she adds, and Rachel's nod is small and kind. Lisa, she smiles like a stretch after yoga. James, warm gratitude for the mentor who opened her eyes. Each name lands, neat as silverware. I wait for the one sound that belongs to me. The room feels balanced, like a scale about to settle. I lean forward just a fraction, ready for the click of my name locking the night into place. It doesn't come. There's a space shaped like me between Rachel and Lisa, a breath where a husband ought to live. It passes, then another. The list moves on without slowing, like a train that doesn't stop at your station. People smile at me anyway, the way you smile at a man in uniform who's off duty, polite, distant, unnecessary. I taste copper. My fingers tighten on the stem. The candles hiss. A waiter glides by and I want to ask if he heard it too, the hole where my name should be. He didn't. They never do. I count the names again, like a man checking pockets he knows are empty. Mom, Dad, Jess, Rachel, Lisa, James. Silence where Mark should be. That silence says more than any speech. It says, in her story, I'm not in the cast. A few heads tilt. Quick, guilty. Someone lowers a glass halfway to their mouth and leaves it there, as if my name might still arrive to save us all from this small humiliation. The laughter stutters, then picks up like a car that nearly stalls at a light. Sam keeps going, smooth as marble. It's a professional smile. No friction, no snag points. The chair beside me scrapes an inch. A cuff brushes a tablecloth. A throat clears. I hear my own breath, slow and even, like I'm measuring it on a scale. Rachel meets my eyes. There's a question in hers. I let it pass. I'm tired of answering for what's obvious. I set my glass down with care. The ring at the base sticks to the table for a beat, then releases with a soft kiss. Tiny sounds grow large when you realize you're alone in a crowded room. Forks, fabric, a watch band adjusting on a wrist, all of it louder than my name. Sam lifts her chin toward the last line, that clean, polished finish people practice in mirrors. To everyone who matters. Her voice is warm enough to heat a church. Glasses rise, crystal on crystal. Applause spreads like a wave and washes over me without getting me wet. I stay still. No smile, no lift of the hand. Just a man at his own celebration, learning in real time that he's the only thing here without a tag. I thought that was the quietest moment of my life, until the balcony proved me wrong. I pushed the door open and the night slipped in, cold, clean, honest. The harbor threw the city back at itself in broken pieces of light. Far-off horns, a siren smudged by distance, the steady hush of water against wood. I put both hands on the railing and let the chill go through my sleeves like truth finds its way through lies. Inside was warm and full. Out here was empty and exact. The room had applause and angles. The balcony had edges you could trust. I stared at the black water and thought about slips at a marina, how boats come and go, but some slips stay empty so long they stop being a question. They just become part of the dock. That's what it felt like. I wasn't missing from tonight. I'd been missing for a while. Not absent like a no-show, absent like wallpaper you stopped seeing years ago. My name hadn't been forgotten. It had been unnecessary. A gust cut across my face, sharp enough to wake a dead plan. I breathed it in and tasted metal and salt and something simple I recognized as myself. Behind me, laughter swelled and receded like a game I didn't want to play anymore. My fingers tightened on the rail. The cold steadied me. I didn't know the next lines yet, but I knew this much. A man can live without praise. He cannot live without a place. The door eased open, soft shoes. A pause I could feel before I heard her voice. "You okay?" Rachel asked, not loud, not pitying, like someone asking if a pilot wants coffee after a hard landing. I didn't look at her right away. The harbor was easier to hold. "Yeah," I said, then let it sit. Her eyes were careful when I turned, concern without crowding. The kind you get from someone who knows there's a difference between fixing and standing next to. We stayed with the quiet. Cold air filled the spaces where small talk usually lives. From inside, a toast we weren't part of, a laugh that didn't need us. She finally said, "It was clear." I nodded. We both knew what she meant and what she didn't need to say. "I'm not angry," I told the water. "That's the strange part." "That's the honest part," she said. Another beat. The piano found its way back through the glass, thin as a thread. I let go of the rail. The imprint of metal stayed in my palms like a stamp. She tipped her head toward the room. "You want to go back in?" I did. Not to belong, just to finish. I opened the door. "I'm perfect," I said, then added what mattered. "Actually, I'm clear." Rachel's mouth flickered, a half smile for a man who finally heard his own voice. We stepped inside, not slower, not faster, just done with pretending we didn't know what came next. The room thinned to stragglers and servers. Candles had burned low. A few guests lingered with coats on their arms, talking in soft end-of-night voices. I stopped by the table where Sam was posing for one last photo. "Quick question," I said, calm as a receipt. "Who planned tonight?" She blinked like a camera shutter. "We don't have to break everything down right now." "It won't take long," I said. "Who found the room, picked the menu, paid the bill?" She glanced past me, hunting for a friendly face to throw a rope. Rachel didn't move. She was done pretending too. "Mark did," Rachel said, "every bit." The air got heavy, like someone had turned up the humidity. A fork touched a plate and sounded loud. Sam kept smiling for no one in particular. "Babe, people are still here," she whispered, teeth barely apart. "Don't do this here." "I'm not doing anything," I said. "I'm asking for one sentence with my name in it." She reached for my forearm like a PR fix, light, careful. I was emotional. I forgot. "You remembered your yoga coach," I said, voice still level. "You just didn't remember your husband." A couple looked down at their shoes. The manager vanished into the kitchen. Rachel let the silence stand. Sam's breath shortened. "Please," she said softer. "Not here." I met her eyes and finally understood. It was never about place. It was about priority. And I wasn't one. I pulled my coat from the back of the chair and slid one arm in, then the other. Small work for a big choice. I thanked the last guests on their way out. Steady nod, warm eyes, no extra words. "Great night," someone said. "Beautiful," said another. I told them to drive safe like a host who might still care. Robert, her father, gripped my hand with both of his. "Hell of a job, son." His thumb pressed a father's approval into my skin. I wondered if he realized he'd just thanked the staff. Linda wrapped me in a careful hug that smelled like perfume and apology. "You're too good to her," she murmured. I didn't disagree. I just stepped back. Rachel was by the door, eyes level. No push, no pull, just there if I needed a wall that wouldn't move. I glanced once at Sam. She was fixing a curl, angling her face toward a phone that wasn't raised. For a second, I waited for her to look at me instead of the room. She didn't. I straightened my collar and let my shoulders settle. "Good night, everyone," I said, loud enough to carry, soft enough to keep the peace. A few hands lifted. A few mouths formed the words back. The lobby air felt cooler, cleaner. I could hear the harbor again, the kind of sound that makes you tell the truth to yourself. The door closed behind me with a hush that felt like a seal, not a slam, a signature, and I walked into the night already lighter than when I came. The elevator doors closed and my phone lit up like a slot machine. First buzz, then a chain of them, stacked banners, stacked demands. "Where did you go?" "Stop being dramatic. You're ruining everything. Come home, now." "I'm sorry I forgot." Then 3 in a row. "Everyone is asking what's wrong with you." "You embarrassed me. We need to fix this." The screen kept filling, a crowd at the door I wouldn't open. I walked to the garage, each footstep a metronome against the concrete. Another ping. It was obvious I meant you. Another. "Don't make this about your feelings." Another. Tonight was important for me. I sat behind the wheel and watched the bubbles pop up, die, and come back with new words. The car smelled like old coffee in winter. I scrolled once more out of habit, a muscle memory of solving things that aren't mine to solve. "Come home." Let's talk like adults. Be reasonable. I love you. Don't do this to me. Streetlights cut the windshield into bars. I felt that old reflex to explain, to translate, to clean. Then I realized I was mopping a floor in a house that wasn't on fire. It just didn't have me in it. I held the power button. The screen went black, the buzzing stopped, and the night finally had a sound I trusted. Nothing. I sat there in the dark car, screen dead, silence thick. But silence has a way of asking, "Now what, man?" I didn't have the answer yet, only a direction. Tom's place is small, clean, and honest. He opened the door, took one look at my face, and didn't ask anything. He just handed me a cold beer and nodded toward the balcony. We stood out there over the quiet street, traffic a low hum, sodium lights painting everything the same tired gold. We didn't fill the air, we let it stand. I took a long pull and felt it settle. Tom leaned on the rail the way guys do when they've got time. Finally he said, "So?" Not a demand, an off-ramp. "I left before I said something I couldn't take back," I said. He waited. That's his gift. No tools, no fix, just a hand on the wood next to yours. "She thanked everyone," I added. "Not me." He winced without moving. Damn. The city kept breathing. Somewhere a siren faded down to a thread. I looked at the bottle label like it had answers and found my own instead. "I've been a supporting character in my own marriage." Tom turned his head, not surprised, just sad it took this long. "You staying here?" "Tonight," I said. "Tomorrow I'll figure out the rest." We clinked glass softly, no speech, no oath. A moth hit the light and moved on. I felt the ground under my feet for the first time in a while. Not victory, not revenge, just the kind of steady a man gets when he calls a thing by its name and lets the echo do the work. I sat on Tom's couch with the city humming through the window and typed a sentence I'd never thought I'd write. 9 a.m., I'll pack, please be out. I read it once, twice, no extra words, no cushions, just what needed saying. I set the phone face down and let the quiet press against me. The beer was warm now. My shoulders found the back of the chair. One breath in, slow, one out, slower. For years I'd been the guy who fixed things before they broke. Tonight I was the guy who let a broken thing stay broken. The screen lit again with older messages trying to drag me backward. "Come home. Be reasonable. Don't do this to me." I wasn't going backward. I turned the phone over, looked at the line I'd written, and felt my jaw unclench like a knot finally working free. Thumb over send. A small pause. The last kindness I had to give. Not to her, to the part of me that still thought good behavior saves you. I hit it. No fireworks, no music. Just a tiny whoosh, and the sense of a bridge catching fire behind me, clean and controlled. I leaned back, stared at the ceiling, and let the smoke clear inside my chest. There it was. Space. The kind a man earns when he stops bargaining with his own value. Morning was blue and honest. I drove home through empty streets, radio off, hands steady on the wheel. The house looked the same from the curb, trim hedges, clean steps, the life we made lined up for inspection. Inside, the smell of coffee met me at the door. The table was set with my favorites like props in a scene: eggs, toast, a bowl of berries I never buy for myself. "Good morning," Sam said, bright but tight. I nodded past her, into the bedroom. The closet light flicked on with that soft click I'd heard 1,000 times. I pulled the suitcase down, unzipped it, and let the mouth of it open on the bed. Shirts first, then jeans, then the sweater I wear when I'm tired of weather. I folded neat, not because she'd see, but because I would. The drawer with my socks stuck like always. I tugged and it gave, a small, dumb victory that felt too true. From the kitchen, a cup settled on a saucer. The house held its breath. I didn't narrate. I didn't negotiate. I reached for the zipper and closed the first bag. The teeth met and ran smooth, a line drawn straight through the middle of a life. I carried it to the door and came back for more. The closet light kept burning, square and steady, showing me exactly what was mine and what never was. She stood in the doorway like a checkpoint. Mark, this is insane. Over one toast? I kept folding. Shirt, then another. Corners lined up, palms smoothing the fabric flat. The suitcase wheels clicked when I nudged it closer, a small sound that made the rest of the room louder. It was obvious I meant you, she said. Everyone knew. I set a belt in the side pocket. They didn't, I said, calm. She followed me to the dresser. You're making a scene after the fact. Can we just talk, like adults? I closed the drawer with my hip. The zipper tab tapped the case, tinny, patient. We are talking, I said. I'm packing while we do it. She reached for my sleeve and let go. You're ruining everything we built. I lifted the suitcase handle, felt the weight of what was mine and what was never noticed. The wheels rolled once and stopped at my heel. Her voice thinned. I forgot, okay? I was emotional. I'm sorry. I looked up then, not angry, just finished. No, I said. You were accurate. She blinked. What does that even mean? I set the second suitcase open on the bed, spread it like a map, and finally gave her the line I'd been walking toward since last night. 7 years, I said, steady. Summarized in one toast. The house didn't argue. It just held the echo until the point sank in. The zipper closed, but something still felt open. A question I hadn't asked yet, not to her, to myself. I laid a sweater across the suitcase and didn't look at her when I asked, "What's my favorite book?" She exhaled like I'd handed her homework. You read a lot. Moby Dick? Why do I love it? She paused. Because it's a classic? Right, I said, folding the sleeves in. Not because it's about obsession and consequence. Not because it taught me that chasing someone who can't see you is just another hunt. I moved to the kitchen, pulled the cast iron from the rack. Favorite meal I cook? She glanced at the pan, hopeful. Your steak? I shook my head. Pasta with vegetables. The one I make when I'm tired and want something that tastes like home. Back in the bedroom, I zipped a side pocket. My middle name? She brightened. James. Alexander? I said. James is my father. Silence filled in the details. The clock on the nightstand ticked like it was shaming us for time wasted. She tried again, softer. Mark. I sat on the edge of the bed and met her eyes. You know the roles, I said. Husband, provider, planner. But if I strip out the tasks and the bills and the parties, who am I to you? Her mouth opened, closed. Nothing landed. I stood, lifted the handle, and felt the case lean into me like a fact. You don't love me, I said, not cruel, just exact. You love what I do, not who I am. The zipper finished its run. The line was drawn. And for once, it was under my name. I walked into the kitchen and set my house keys on the counter, a small sound like a period at the end of a long sentence. Sam followed, words stacking without meaning. I didn't answer. I slid my thumb under the ring I'd worn for 7 years. It stuck for a heartbeat, then gave. My hand looked strange without it, pale skin where gold used to live, a tan line like a ghost. Mark, don't, she said, voice catching. Please, we can fix this. I turned the band in my fingers once. It was simple, honest, heavier than it looked. I thought about all the doors those keys opened, all the rooms that Ring walked into, and how none of them had a place for me in them anymore. I put the ring down next to the keys. Metal on stone, clean, dry, final. The sound cut through the house like a blade finding the knot. Sam flinched. Her hand rose halfway, then fell. She had no words that weren't already too late. I looked at my bare hand, flexed it, felt air where weight used to be. It wasn't freedom yet. It was the space freedom needs. She whispered my name. I met her eyes and didn't look away or explain. Then I turned and walked out of the kitchen with nothing in my hands and more of myself than I'd had in years. Momentum took over. I called a lawyer from the car. Clean voice, clear steps, no drama. We'll start with separation, he said. I nodded to nobody and kept driving. At lunch, I scrolled listings and made a list. Parking, light, quiet, no shared walls if I could help it. That night I saw the first 3 places. None felt like mine. Over the next 2 days I saw 9 more. 12 doors, 12 versions of a life I could maybe stand. North End hit different. Brick, narrow hall, the smell of someone else's cooking seeping through in a way that felt alive, not intrusive. Hardwood that had already forgiven other people's mistakes. A small balcony over a street that minded its own business. The landlord handed me the application. "It's not fancy," he said. "It's honest," I replied. We did the math. I ran my credit. He shrugged like a man who's seen worse and better and knows both end the same, with a signature. I bought a bed that afternoon, nothing dramatic, just solid wood with a frame that wouldn't complain. A table big enough for a plate and a book. 2 chairs, because being alone doesn't mean you never expect company. When the lease slid across the counter, I read every line and signed my name like I was returning it to myself. The pen scratched, the paper took it. No applause, no witnesses, just a key on a ring that only had one job now: open a door that finally led to me. It didn't take long. By evening, her feed turned into a theater. A pale quote on a dark background. "When people show you who they are, believe them." Next slide. Sam on a bench by the river, chin up, eyes far, captioned, "Healing." Comments bloomed fast. "Stay strong, Queen. You deserve better." Heart emojis stacked like sandbags. No why, no what, just mood. The kind of vagueness that lets people paint you with their favorite shade of villain. A few friends texted me screenshots like dispatches from a war I didn't start. "Everything okay?" "What happened?" "She seems hurt." I poured coffee in the new place and stared at the cup while my phone pulsed. I typed back the only sentence that mattered. "Ask her what she said in the toast." Sent. Sat the phone down. Let the question do the work. More posts. A close-up of her hand on a mug. New season. A photo of the peonies, my peonies, cropped tight, no context, no credit. She had always been good at editing a frame until the truth didn't fit. Another ping. She won't say. Of course she wouldn't. Gaslighting's favorite tool is fog. I rinsed the cup, set it upside down on the rack, and felt that old urge to defend the record die a clean death. Let them ask her. Let her answer. If the night was so perfect, say it out loud. The phone rang before lunch. Same friend. Quieter this time. "She didn't mention you," he said. "Not once." He waited like a man who wants permission to be angry on your behalf. I gave it to him with a breath. "Yeah." It took off from there. A cousin called, then a college buddy I hadn't heard from since Obama's second term. DMs stacked like bricks. "Heard the story. Is that real? Man, I always thought she took you for granted." A few rode to her side, loyalty or optics, who can tell? "You're overreacting. This is private." But most people understood math. Names named, names missing. Screenshots bounced around group chats until even the quiet people had an opinion. Someone wrote, "If my wife forgot me in a room I paid for, I'd be gone before dessert." Another, "Private thanks doesn't fix public erasure." Rachel texted a single period. I knew what she meant. Full stop. The phone buzzed again. Same friend, less careful now. "About time you stood up for yourself." I let that land. Not victory, recognition. The kind that doesn't need clapping. I set the phone face down and looked at the blank wall of my new place like it was a screen waiting for better stories. Not curated, not cropped, just honest. The noise could run its course outside. Inside, the truth had already finished the job. It took less than a day for the story to mutate. A buddy texted, "She's saying you've been seeing Rachel." The kind of lazy rumor people reach for when the truth is uncomfortable. I pictured Sam's captions, vague pain, indirect blame, and heard the subtext, "If I'm the villain, she doesn't have to look in the mirror." Rachel called before I could warn her. "She's telling people I stole you." Her voice was tired, not dramatic, like someone who's been here before. "You okay?" I asked. "I'm annoyed," she said. Not surprised. "Let it breathe," I told her. "The truth has lungs." We sat with the line open, saying nothing, listening to our own apartments. My new place ticked like a watch on a nightstand. Somewhere in hers, a kettle clicked off. The quiet was cleaner than any statement. "She wants me to convince you to come back," Rachel added. "What did you say?" "That she should have thought of that before the toast." I smiled without joy. "People will pick sides," I said. "I don't need them to pick mine." She waited, then gave me the only blessing that mattered. "You sound free." "I am," I said, and felt it hold. "I'm free. That's better than being right." We let the line go. No vows, no plan. Just two adults refusing a script that never fit. The knock came hard enough to rattle the cheap frame. Tom lifted his eyebrows. "Want me to call the cops?" I shook my head. "Open it." He did, and Sam blew in on a wave of perfume and panic. Rachel was already on the couch, hands folded, calm like a witness who trusts her memory. "Of course you're here," Sam spit. "Perfect." Tom stepped back, neutral territory. I stayed standing. The room felt smaller than usual, air heavier. "Mark, you're coming home," she said. "This is a phase. We will not involve outsiders." "Like the 24 people at our anniversary?" I asked. Her eyes flashed. "You are humiliating me." Rachel's voice was even. "No, you did that to him." Sam rounded on her. "You've wanted this for years." "No one wants this," Rachel said. "We want honesty." I let them trade 2 more sentences and then cut through. "No one steals someone you threw away." The words landed flat and stayed. Tom's clock ticked behind them like a judge's pen. Sam reached for me with a list of reasons shaped like apologies. "I'll fix it. I'll tag you. You shouldn't have to remind yourself to see your husband," Rachel said. Sam looked from me to her, hunting for the old choreography. It wasn't here. Not tonight. "This is between us," Sam hissed. "She stays," I said. "Truth stays." The room went quiet enough to hear the fridge hum. For once, silence worked for me. It told the story better than either of us ever had. She said she wanted honesty. Fine. Tonight, she was going to get it. Every line, every receipt, every missing name. Rachel didn't raise her voice. She opened a drawer and laid things on the table. 2 years ago, your birthday. Who planned that surprise?" "Mark," she answered her own question. "He booked the rooftop, paid the tab, made sure your parents flew in. You posted for a week. Best night of my life. No mention of him." Sam's mouth tightened. I thanked him privately. Rachel nodded once. "Last spring, the promotion interview. Who ran mock questions with you every night for a month?" I didn't say a word. "Mark did," she continued. "Your caption after you got it?" Rachel looked at Sam's phone, already knowing. "Manifested this opportunity with hard work and positive energy. Not a single word about the man who held the flashlight." Sam shot me a look like I'd leaked a state secret. "Why are you keeping score?" I set my hands flat. "We're not keeping score. We're showing the pattern." Rachel wasn't done. "Anniversary trips? He booked them. Family emergencies? He handled them. Your content calendar? He built the buffer so you could be spontaneous. Every time you gave him a private nod and the internet your public gratitude." Sam's eyes glassed over. Anger or shame, hard to tell. "This is petty," she said. "No," Rachel said, and it was the cleanest line of the night. "Private thanks can't fix public erasure." The words sat there like a stamp. Even the fridge seemed to stop humming to hear them. Sam folded her arms like armor. "You have no idea what reputation costs," she said. "Brands watch everything. People judge. I can't look weak." There it was. The real altar. I felt something in me settle. "I do know what it costs," I said. "It cost our marriage a name. Mine." She scoffed. "You're being dramatic." "No," I said, steady. "I'm being specific. You keep choosing the optics over the person, the caption over the truth, the applause over the man who set the stage." Rachel glanced at me. 3 beats, a small nod, like, "It's time." Sam's voice climbed. "You want me to tank my image? You want me to spell out our private life so strangers can feed on it? I want you to stop deleting me, I said. If you need an audience to love you, that's your business. But you can't ask me to disappear so your grid looks clean. She stared like I'd spoken another language. People will think I'm the bad guy. I shrugged. Maybe stop doing things that look like it. Silence dropped hard enough to leave a mark. She tried one last pivot. What do you want me to say? You can start with the line you skipped, I said. My husband, Mark. I let the next sentence land where it belonged, between us, not online. You care more about reputation than our marriage. She blinked. Once, twice. No rebuttal came, just the soft sound of something finally telling the truth. She softened her voice like it could buy time. I'll change, Sam said. I swear, just give me another chance. I kept my eyes on hers, not cruel, not kind, just steady. The room thinned to essentials, a couch, a clock, 3 people who knew exactly what had happened. She reached for my hand and stopped halfway, as if even touch needed approval now. I'll tag you. I'll thank you. I'll make it right, she said, stacking solutions that belonged to the feed, not the life. We can go to therapy. I'll listen. I will. Please. Silence stretched tight between us. It didn't snap. It held. She looked at Rachel for help. Rachel looked down. Tom shifted his weight but stayed out of it. I let the quiet do the heavy lifting. Changing is work. Promising is air. Mark, I get it. She tried again. I didn't see you. I see you now. I nodded once, not as agreement, but as acknowledgement that the words existed. The past did too. I'm asking for one more chance, she whispered. Tears finally arrived, late to their own appointment. I took a breath that reached my shoes. You've had them, I said, calm. 7 years of chances. The sentence didn't rise. It landed, flat, exact, unarguable. Her shoulders folded in. For a second I saw the girl I married, generous and bright. Then I remembered, generosity without recognition is just consumption. And I was done being consumed. It flipped fast. This is Rachel's fault, Sam said, heat back in her voice. She's been in your ear for years. Rachel didn't blink. I was in the room for one night. You were in the marriage for 7 years. Tom cleared his throat, a quiet warning that the house had limits. Sam pointed at Rachel like a prosecutor low on evidence. You think you're better because you're divorced and bitter? Bitter bought me honesty, Rachel said. You should try it. I stayed still. No defense, no counter. The only thing left to move was the truth, and it had already taken its seat. Sam turned to me for a ruling I no longer gave. Are you really choosing her over me? I'm choosing me, I said. Finally. Her face hardened, a door already looking for a frame. You'll regret this. Maybe, I said, but I'll regret it as myself. She spun toward the hall. Tom took a half step back, giving space like a referee who doesn't need the whistle. The air drew tight. Sam grabbed the handle, yanked, and the door hit the jamb with a crack that rattled the picture frames. The sound wrote its own sentence. Not a comma, not a question, an exclamation mark. Full stop at the end of a long paragraph. We stood in the aftershock. The fridge hummed back to life. Rachel exhaled first. Tom checked the latch. I felt the room grow an inch wider. Not joy, not triumph, just the clean certainty of something finished. The new place came in pieces. I bolted the bed frame together on a Saturday, Allen key in my palm, wood that didn't remember anyone else. I set up the kitchen the way I cook, not the way a photo wants. Cast iron within reach, knives sharp, spices I actually use. A small table from a shop that smelled like dust and honest work. 2 chairs. Not hope, just room. I hung simple curtains and let the morning tell me what it looked like. Light spilled in like a clean sheet. No staged corners, no content, just a room that didn't ask me to perform. I walked to the market and bought what I like. Good pasta, tomatoes that smell like summer, basil, a wedge of Parmesan I'd grate down to the heel. Back home, water rolled, oil shimmered, garlic hit the pan, and the air said, "You live here." I ate standing up, then sat, then leaned back and let the chair hold me. First bite, I actually tasted it. Salt right, heat right, no compromises. A quiet meal in a quiet room. No photo, no post, no audience. No, it wasn't happiness. It was lighter than that. Relief with a backbone. The sound of a life that finally fits in its own skin. A box of books waited by the door like a dog that trusts you'll come back. I cut it open and there it was. Moby Dick. The copy with the spine creased at the same chapters. The one that's moved with me through different versions of myself. I ran a thumb along the crackled glue, felt the softness paper gets after being handled by someone who needed it. I opened to a page I knew without looking. Margin notes in my old pencil, tight and patient. Obsession, consequence, what pursuit costs. Past me speaking to present me in a handwriting I still recognize. I read a paragraph out loud just to hear the weight of it in an empty room. It landed. Not dramatic. True. I sharpened a pencil and added a line. You can't save a ship that won't admit it's leaking. The room didn't clap. It didn't need to. I smiled because I remembered why this book matters to me. Not for wails or speeches, but for the steady drumbeat underneath. A man's focus will build him or bury him, and you better know which one it's doing. I slid the book onto the table beside the empty bowl and a coffee mug gone cold. My life, in 3 objects: food I chose, words I keep, silence I own. And for the first time in a long time, that felt like enough. She knocked once and held up a box like it weighed more than it did. Housewarming, Rachel said, stepping into the quiet. Out came a small coffee maker, the kind that does one job well. Then 2 plain mugs, solid, heavy, no slogans. Last, wrapped in brown paper, an old copy of Moby Dick, older than mine, the cover sun-faded and proud. I saw it in a used shop, she said. Thought it wanted a second life. I thumbed the soft spine. Someone else had underlined where I would've. You could feel the miles in it. We set the machine on the counter, filled it, waited for the first hiss. The room took the smell like a promise kept. She looked around. Bed made, dishes clean, no performance anywhere, and smiled the kind of smile that doesn't ask for a mirror. This suits you, she said, quiet and honest. We poured coffee and stood by the window. Street noise drifted up, ordinary and kind. She tapped the book once with a finger, then looked at me. You've carried a lot of people for a long time, Rachel said, voice low. Now it's your turn to love yourself. Something in me unlocked without drama. No speech, no oath. Just a man with a mug, a book, and a room that didn't lie. We didn't toast, we didn't post. We just let the moment sit, warm and earned. The days began to stack in a way that felt like building, not surviving. I ran the river path along the Charles before work. Cold air in my chest, shoes chewing up the miles, geese heckling from the water like loud neighbors. Back home, I cooked simple. Eggs when I needed quick, a pan sauce when I wanted to pay attention. The kitchen answered with honest smells. On a Sunday, I opened the case on an old guitar, dust lifting like memory. The strings complained, then agreed, and my fingers found chords I hadn't asked for in years. It wasn't pretty, it was mine. After, I cleared a shelf and made a row of books that had actually fed me, not the ones that looked good behind a camera. Nights were quiet in a way that didn't accuse me. I washed a plate, dried it, put it away. I answered who I wanted, left the rest. A light breeze nudged the curtain. The street gave me its small stories. Footsteps, laughter, a door shutting like a period. That first deep sleep hit before I knew I'd fallen. No dreams I could chase, no alarms in my blood, just dark, full, and kind. I woke up once, listened to nothing, and smiled at it. Peace doesn't shout, it settles. And for the first time in years, it settled on me. We started small. Dinner with Tom at a place that serves meatloaf like it remembers your name. We talked baseball, work headaches, dumb headlines, no therapy, no post-mortem, just brothers eating hot food that didn't need a photo. I called an old friend from college on the walk home, laughed about a road trip we barely survived, and promised to meet up without promising too much. The next morning, I texted a coworker, "Coffee on me?" We sat by the window and traded stories that didn't angle for sympathy or praise. I noticed how easy it is to breathe when you're not performing. I noticed how people lean in when you're not selling them a version of yourself. No speeches, no brand, just me, steady and unadorned. Someone finally asked about Sam. I shook my head. Not today. The conversation moved on, merciful and light. For the first time in a long time, I laughed all the way through a joke, not just at the end. Walking back to the office, cup warm in my hand, I said it out loud, quiet, just for me. Belonging returns when performance ends. It wasn't wisdom. It was a weather report. The front had passed, the air felt cleaner, and what came next would be built, not posted. She was waiting by my car, envelope in hand, the way people wait outside confessionals. "Read this," Sam said. Her voice had that practiced crack, the one built for sympathy. I unlocked the door and let it swing open. Cold air from the cab brushed my knees. She held the envelope closer, like proximity could make it true. "Everything I should have said," she offered. "Everything I feel." I looked at the paper, then at her. "Say it," I said. "Right now." She blinked. "I wrote it." "I'm here," I said. "So are you." Silence spread between us, wide and honest. In the distance, a bus coughed. A seagull shrieked like it had something on its mind. She tried for a start and fell into vagueness. Sorry, hurt, misunderstood. Words that move air, but not a needle. I put one hand on the roof, felt the grit of a week's dust, and the other on the door. The envelope hovered like a prop that had lost its scene. "If you can't say it," I told her, calm as weather, "it's just words." I slid into the seat. She stepped back. The letter stayed in her hand like a ticket to a train that already left. I closed the door, turned the key, and watched her shrink in the rear view, still, small, and finally out of frame. She called the next afternoon like business. "I got the marketing job," Sam said. "I start Monday." I could hear traffic in the background, a turn signal clicking, a life already moving. "So, what does this mean for us?" she asked, careful on the word like it might break. "I'm glad for you," I said. "Truly." "That's not what I asked." "I heard you." I let the silence stand. It did what words couldn't. She tried again. "We can build from this. Stability. A fresh start." "I'll prove—" "You don't have to prove anything to me about work," I said. "Work was never the problem." The phone went quiet in that heavy way that tells you a point found its mark. "Then what are we doing?" she whispered. "You're doing Monday," I said. "And I'm doing my life." A long exhale, small and angry. "So that's it?" I looked at the window, at the city I was finally living in instead of decorating. "There is no us," I answered, steady, not cruel, not loud, clear. She didn't argue. She breathed once like a swimmer who missed the wall, said "okay," and hung up. I set the phone down on the table beside my keys, the ones that opened a door with only my name on it, and felt the edge hold. Back at the seaport, same view, different air. Tom's engagement dinner was smaller, warmer, no performance, just family and people who actually knew your middle name. The piano hummed like it had learned restraint. Candles did their job without asking for a photo. I laughed easy. Not at the end of a joke, through it. Rachel was there, wearing nothing special and pulling it off. We talked about nothing and everything. Her clients, my apartment, a coffee shop that undersalted its cookies. No agenda, no angles. I caught my reflection in the window, a man who looked like he'd slept, shoulders down, jaw light. The harbor threw back the city in pieces, and I didn't need every piece to make it whole. Tom stood to thank everyone, stumbled on a line, and we laughed with him, not at him. When he toasted, he said my name by accident and on purpose, like muscle memory and love share a locker. Something in me unclenched I hadn't noticed was still tight. Rachel bumped my shoulder. "You look different." "I feel different," I said. Finally. The room didn't require anything I couldn't give. No caption to write, no angle to chase, just people who saw each other and ate hot food while it was hot. Same restaurant, same city, different man. I didn't need to make a scene to prove it. Peace did the talking. She walked in like a storm that forgot its thunder. Same restaurant, same view, none of the old power. Our table tilted quiet when she saw me. For a second, she looked 13 again, unsure, searching for a script. "Can we talk?" she asked, voice low enough not to ripple the room. I glanced at Tom and Rachel. "1 minute," I said, and followed her out to the terrace. Night air off the water, soft and clean. We stood by the railing where I'd once learned the truth. She started with pieces. "I'm in therapy. I'm learning things about myself. Narcissistic tendencies. I didn't see you. I see you now." Her hands kept finding each other and letting go. "I'm working on it." I listened, not to be convinced, just to let the words run their course. Boats drew slow lines across the harbor. Somewhere behind us, a laugh rose and fell, harmless and whole. "Is there any chance?" she asked finally. "Any at all?" I kept my eyes on hers so she'd know this wasn't cruelty. It was clarity. "Let me ask you one thing," I said. "Why did you love me? Not what I did. Why me?" The question sat down between us like a third person. She opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. The wind moved. The answer didn't. We stood there and let the seconds count themselves. A boat horn called once and faded. She swallowed hard. "I don't know," Sam said. No spin, no padding, just the floor. Tears found her eyes the way rain finds a sore spot in the roof, slow, then certain. "I should know," she whispered. "I should be able to say it." Her hands trembled, and then were still. The city threw light at the water, and the water didn't argue. I nodded. Not victory, recognition. "That's the most honest thing you've ever said to me." She looked smaller, not because I'd won, but because truth shrinks what's been inflated for too long. "I am trying," she said, voice thin. "Therapy, work, showing up." "I'm glad," I told her. "For you." She blinked at that, at the simplicity of it. "So this is really over?" "It's been over," I said gently. "Tonight we're just saying it out loud." She wiped her face, leaving clean lines where makeup had tried to help. "Will you ever forgive me?" "I already have," I said. "But forgiveness isn't the same as getting back together." A gull cut the air above us. Inside, someone clapped at a toast I was happy to miss. "Take care of yourself," I added. "Let the work be real." She nodded once, twice, and walked back through the door alone. I stayed with the quiet until it felt like mine again, then turned toward the table where people knew my name and said it without a camera running. We stood on my little balcony with 2 plain mugs that had traded coffee for something stronger. The city hummed below, tires on wet pavement, a laugh drifting up from the corner, sirens fading where they belong. The kitchen behind us held steady heat. A pan still warm on the stove said dinner had been eaten hot, not staged. On the table inside, Moby Dick lay open, spine honest, waiting its turn again. Rachel lifted her glass first. "To being visible," she said. I touched mine to hers. "To being valued," I answered. The clink was small and enough. If you strip the noise from this story, what's left is simple. I stopped asking to be seen and started living where I am. No spectacle, no revenge. Just a man who chose clarity over applause, peace over performance. People ask what I finally said at that dinner. It wasn't rage, it wasn't poetry. It was the line a man uses when he's done bargaining with his own worth. The calmest reply is goodbye. If this hit you where you live, if you've been the backbone in the background, tell me how you knew. Drop your moment in the comments so another man hears it when he needs it. Follow, subscribe, stay with this channel. The hard part wasn't leaving. The hard part was learning to stay, with myself. The rest of the story starts there.